So we are live, at least with a quick stream tonight. Sorry about all the various start-stop stuff. And streaming a little bit later than usual tonight. Some stuff's been going on, need taken care of. So, going to be a short stream, but we're still doing our Sunday night stream, so here we go. Finishing up a league with Domain Zoo that I started the other day. Domain Zoo obviously is an adjacent deck to something like Modern Burn, but is more reliant upon its creatures, things like Wild Nacatl and Ragavan, getting the party started early, and then the early beats with things like Tarmogoyf, Territorial Kavu, and Sign of Draco. All these threats hit a lot harder than anything out of something like Burn, most of them having 3 or 4 power. These are the 2 drops in Scion. Wild Nacatl obviously hits for 3. Ragavan's just an abysmal pain in the butt to deal with in the format. We got a 1/9 1-drop creature and Hex Drinker here that has the level up mechanic. You can turn him into protection from instants and then protection from everything. Basically a mini copy of Progenitus if it gets up to level 8. Downside of level up is you have to do it during your turn. Other than that, you have some interaction. Things like Lightning Bolt and Tribal Flames both can deal with either creatures to clear out of the way for your things to kill them, or just go to your opponent's face. Dromoka's Command is a modal card that allows you to do many different things. Potentially blank an Unholy Heat or a Bolt, force opponent to sacrifice something like a Blood Moon or Urza's Saga, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and then fighting creatures. Stubborn Denial, it can be a hard negate this deck in some ways, especially when you're on the play. If you can go turn 2, big dumb idiot, turn 3, hold up Stubborn Denial. Oftentimes your opponent's going to struggle to recover from that kind of tempo loss. Leyline Binding as another hard removal. This hits everything that isn't a land, planeswalkers, creatures, etc. Sideboard, not your typical Domain Zoo sideboard, but a couple copies of Natural State helping to deal with annoying crap like Blood Moon. Flusterstorm helping to fight over counterspell wars and protect your creatures. Blossoming Calm over something like Veil of Summer. This kind of serves purpose of giving you hexproof against things like Burn and also discard spells. Rest in Peace for any type of graveyard nonsense. Lavinia and Fairy basically are anti-cascade stuff, while also Lavinia giving other things fits. An opponent can't cast a spell if no mana was cast, counter that spell, keeps them from evoking elementals and such. And Hitsugu, primarily here for hammer, can be a slow graveyard hate piece against something like Living End, but in general is splash damage for your decks. So you generally only bring this in against decks that have a bunch of stuff that, a bunch of 1-drops that even outclass what we got, and then you get to run a Gigantha. So deck is solid. It's been a rough league so far, though. We ran into Old School Jund, we ran into Red-Black Scam, and then Mono Blue Tron, all of which seem to be kind of contentious matchups. Basically, especially in the post-board games, the game on the play we won, game on the draw we lost. Black removal is a bit of annoying for this deck. Lines up very well against bolts and stuff, but tends to struggle against things that can actually hard removal your creatures. And without reach, this deck doesn't have anywhere near as much reach as a deck like Boros Burn. So, that said, let's get these matches 2 remaining matches rolling. And so, last week I streamed on Monday night because there was an issue that required my attention Sunday evening. And then tonight, obviously, I just got back from my brother's, and there were some things that needed dealt with here at home before I got on streaming. So, just hoping for relatively quick matches and certainly better results than we've had so far in the league. But Zoo is in an interesting place in the meta. Obviously, it is a creature-based aggressive deck. It can generally ignore things like Bolt and such, especially if you're playing Tarmogoyf over Nashuba Brawler. But it runs into some weird issues like being weak to dive down with Territorial Kavu dying due to Dress Down and Tarmogoyf becoming an 0-1. Awkwardness of Rest in Peace in this build with Tarmogoyf. But I think in the matchups that you bring in Rest in Peace, you'd rather have the Rest in Peace in play than a Tarmogoyf, or a Tarmogoyf if you don't have a Rest in Peace. So sometimes non-bows do have it in deck construction. Okay. Opponent is deciding whether they want to play. Okay, this hand's a 1-lander. I don't think we can risk a 1-lander. This hand's much more interesting to me. Put back. So if we get... I have Overgrown Tomb, Mountains, Plains, Swamp. I think I'm better off just putting the Overgrown Tomb back and using the fetch lands, question mark. Alright. See what our opponent has. Looks like we might be up against Murktide. Yep. Grand Raiders Chandler. So hey Stress Day, thanks for the raid. Greatly appreciate that. How'd your stream go tonight? Alright, so we definitely want to get... Okay. So if we go for Breeding Pool, then next turn we can grab... This is the biggest pain about Zoo, is the fetching of the lands. So we need a green source, Overgrown Tomb. Next turn we can grab Sacred Foundry. We still don't have Stubborn Denial up, but we'll at least have our 4 of our 5 colors and be able to get Kavu, and then we can always fetch. It's always painful with this deck, especially when you want to try to cast your 1-drops. So which more important, the island or the black source? I think we go with the island and ignore the black source for now. So we'll give us 4 of our 5 colors and turn everything online at least. And if they drop like a Ragaving or something, we could always potentially Leyline Binding here. The fact that they're holding up potentially Spell Pierce leads me to just play Kavu next turn. Yeah, it's especially annoying in the early in the Zoo deck, because you have to make those so Temple Garden, no, we want to go with Sacred Foundry. Because you want to curve out so many times. Like, it's almost nice when you don't have one of your 1-drops, because then you can just play the lands you want to play, and get a tap land on one, and then do your fetch shock. Whereas with a deck like Elementals or a deck like Creativity, you usually have that one turn to kind of set up your mana a little bit. So if I put this in play, I'll have Leyline Binding for 1, and be able to hold up Stubborn Denial. So I think I'm going to chew... Going to exile the sorcery, since it's kind of the hardest thing for them to get in the graveyard. And then we're just going to pass without playing anything. And they clearly don't have another copy of Unholy Heat, or they just would have heated the, whatchamacallit here. I think we're going to take the opportunity to go ahead and, once they resolve this, consider to Leyline Binding this. Because we still have another one, so... Getting their pressure out of play is significant in a tempo-ish matchup. And they don't have many things to answer a 5/5, so I feel like they're going to try to jam Monkey's always annoying. I used to be very nonchalant about Monkey, but especially this league, it's just been such an obnoxious card to play against, even though it's, yes, it's in my deck, but it's just an obnoxious card to play. So, they get a Stubborn Denial, which doesn't theoretically do them much here. We're going to let the Expressive Iteration resolve, which we would have let resolve anyway. The only card we care about is Unholy Heat, which... This is even... yeah, it has 4 types. Okay. I'm going to hit my no button here. So we can't really stop their graveyard from being... I mean, we need the iteration, but I just don't think... I think we're just going to pitch this Flooded Strand and get a redraw. So the downside is we cannot deploy both of our creatures and hold up. Can't we? No, because we only have the one red source, and it also happens to be our white source. So I think we're just going to play Nakatl and hold up Leyline Binding here. Because, I mean, they can easily go Dash Monkey. Wow, must be nice to find 3 copies of Unholy Heat in your top 20 cards of your deck. So they only have 1 card, and they've been playing like they've had Spell Pierce the entire game. So I think I'm going to wait till my next turn here to... just play the other land. I don't even know that it particularly matters here. Okay. So we'll force them to block with one of the things or have a bolt. Presumably block here. Put them to 2. They go to 1. They have 2 cards in hand. Obviously, we're dead to double bolts. We're dead to Dashed Monkey, something off of our top of our deck. Okay, iteration, yeah, sure, whatever. Must be nice to have triple iteration, triple unholy heat in the top half of your deck. Alright, we're going to combat. Oh, Delver? Or... That's presuming one of the things they have is a counterspell of some kind. Shocker, right? Yeah, well, it wasn't just Murktide that Ragavans irritated me. Also getting hit by it out of both Jund midrange and Rakdos Scam made me really just want the card gone. Alright. Teferi is moderately okay. Flusterstorm maybe. Blossoming Calm not good enough. They're probably going to try to Blood Moon us, so we probably want to bring in Natural States, even though it's not good against the vast majority of the rest of their deck. Could bring in Rest in Peace, but that just feels like an unnecessary thing for that. Lavinia doesn't do much in this matchup. Hitsugu doesn't do much. Blossoming Calm, sure, gives you Hexproof, but that's only relevant against Bolt to the face. Rest in Peace, I think, is a bit much against them, especially on the draw when we're more worried about Blood Moon. Stubborn Denial is okay against them, but it's better when we can get ahead. Dramoka's Command can fight over all of their nonsense. So it really comes down to what do we want to trim. I think on the draw we want to trim at least some amount of the Ragavans. And then Command can be awkward with, especially on the draw. This card's much better on the play. And then maybe trim one of the Stubborn Denials. Once again, it's a card that's much better when you're leveraging it to be ahead. This hand is not good. That said, we do have the opportunity to, with this hand, play around Blood Moon and still drop a decently powered creature on turn 2. So I think on the draw, even though we don't have a removal, we are going to keep this hand, but I would really prefer to have one less land in hand. Like, maybe we'll get lucky and they don't have turn 1 Monkey Go, but... Alright, Tarmogoyf. With Tarmogoyf, I'm just going to go turn 1 Sacred Foundry, pass. Next turn, fetch Forest. It's not the sexiest play, and it doesn't get Scion or any of these down. Yeah, they got Ledger Shredder or whatever. Leyline Binding. Let's get in basic Forest here. Because we can play the Savai Triome next turn and have access to Leyline Binding plus Natural State or any of these other threats. We could play Kavu. Kavu would be a 3/3, but then just dies to dive down. Or not dive down. Yeah, dive down. Not dive down. Oh. The enchantment that I'm drawing a blank on right now. Dive down's the protection spell. What am I thinking of? It could have Spell Snare here, which would just be so like them to have their one of, right? Yep. I could have played Scion there to play around Spell Snare. Subtlety. Yay. Alright, let's swing a Tarmogoyf first, see what they do. I think I want to binding one of these first. Take care of the bigger one. And then we'll just play Scion of Draco. Yeah, they get a loot. If they have subtlety, it's obnoxious, but and we still get to hold up natural state here against Blood Moon. That said, they could still go land Blood Moon plus Counterspell, but they're also behind on the board, so they were behind on the board anyway. Obviously, this is the downside of the hand we kept running out of gas if they're able to draw answers. So Blood Moon might have been relevant against Unholy Heat, or Rest in Peace would have been relevant against Holy Heat, but then their Tarmogoyfs would have been paperweights, so yeah, literally Blood Moon doesn't matter here. Yep, they had Dress Down. That was the card I could not think of, the name. I kept calling it Dive Down, but it was really Dress Down, so. Thanks for the reminder about Gigantha. But I literally don't think Gigantha matters on this board. But yes, thank you for the reminder, Nox. Nox. But I don't think it'll matter, because even if we could deploy Gigantha next turn, if we'd put it in our hand, we're still going to be dead here, so. So dash monkey. Hopefully hit something. Okay, you just have counterspell and none of this matters. Okay. Alright, so Blood Moon we kind of figured. Could bring the Dromoka's commands and the Ragavans back in on the play. But then it comes down to what do we want to cut? Maybe it's cut. Hex Drinker and still cut a Dromoka's command? Question mark. Alright, this hand is vulnerable as heck to Blood Moon, but has a lot of stuff going on, so we'll keep it. We can fetch potentially a forest here, but or not a forest, a forest, but I don't know that that's something we're going to be able to afford to do. Alright, our opponent could still have Spell Snare here. I'm not sure if we're supposed to play around that or not. Sacred Foundry, play out the Goyf. I'm sorry, this is bullshit that you have your one of Spell Snare every freaking game. Just gonna fetch planes and grab our Giganta here. That at least gives us the out of Leyline Binding to these to a Blood Moon next turn. I think we hold on to Bolt and Tribal Flames here for now. So we could Tribal Flames, put them to 5 while they're tapped out of, you know, counterspell stuff. But it also leaves us cold to a bigger threat like a Murktide or something here. And this allows us to do something like hold up Bolt against a Dash Ragavan. Okay. Sure. We'll let them surveil. They're tapped out, so they're dead. Grab Savai is a red source, right? Yeah. Definitely the intention. As long as they don't have Force of Negation, they're just dead here, so. And they tapped out, so they died. Alright. So, despite our opponent top decking like a champ and doing generally obnoxious Izzet Murktide things, we still managed to steal the match. But, yeah, Murktide is... I generally don't have a problem with Murktide as the deck, but EI is obnoxious enough. I mean, it's banned in Pioneer, it's banned in Legacy now. Ragavan is banned in Legacy, and this league in particular has just gotten my hackles up against playing against it. My primary deck is Burn, so even Burn has some weaknesses to a Dash Ragavan because of so many of Burn's spells now are sorceries. Really, you have Bolt, Helix, and potentially Searing Blaze as ways to answer it when it's being dashed. Whereas, you know, Skewer the Critics, Rift Bolt. So a lot of your bolts just don't, they're not instant speed. So a dashing monkey can be really obnoxious to deal with. And if you look at this deck, you have 4 bolts, 4 Leyline Bindings. And potentially Dromoka's Command. But when your opponent's backing that up with, you know, like, I've played against Ragavan decks in 3 of the 4 matches of this league. We played against it in Modern Jund. We played against it in Rakdos Midrange, or not Rakdos Midrange, Rakdos Scam. And then we played against it now with Murktide. It's like, well, when you're playing, getting that small of a sample size and dealing with it, it really gets obnoxious. But how's everybody doing tonight? My name is John, or Dusk Blader on MTGO here. We usually play every Sunday night, alternating between Modern and Pioneer. This week, obviously, we're doing Modern. Can't keep a no-lander, no matter how good the hand looks. Opponent is mulliganing to 6 as well. This hand is very awkward. This is kind of what I was talking about with 1-drops and Zoo in general, is the 1-drops can be very awkward to deploy. But I think this is the kind of hand that you just take your Savai Triome and, you know, be able to fetch your breeding pool and have your domain mana online. Turn 1, Mountain or Swamp Go. This at least makes it more interesting. I can play this, then grab that, and still have domain. So we could be very well playing into a fatal push here, but I think getting Monkey down on turn 1 without it affecting the rest of our game plan is just too important. Okay, so it looks like we might be up against Coffers, or I'm not really sure. So we can't really represent Stubborn Denial when we don't have Stubborn Denial, so we're just going to go to combat. Our opponent is badly mistiming their choice of things there, but I think you have to wait till I go to combat, that way in case I have a second land and dash Monkey. But yeah, they have Knight's Whisper, which is fine. Yep, they're the Coffers deck. Okay. So we have a Nacky Tattle. Gotta grab a green source here, most likely Breeding Pool, just to complete the collection. That'll give us full domain. Yeah. Play this. I wanted a green mana, thank you very much. And then Tribal Flames their face. Now we're kind of sort of wishing that we'd kept the third Tribal Flames instead of the monkey, but whatever. Okay, you have a kill spell for the Nakatl, that's whatever. Demolition Field. That could be annoying. Yep. What do we even get here? Yes. Grab. We have more use for double white than we do double green, I think. But the funny part is, them destroying that, while it's annoying, doesn't do anything. because Urborg still turns all of our lands into a swamp, it literally doesn't do anything. Hopefully they like tap out for like, I don't even know, Grey Merchant. I'm guessing more likely we're going to get hit by a Invoke Despair. Karn. Oh, this may not end well for them. Go get Ensnaring Bridge? Is that what you're grabbing here? Yeah, this isn't going to end well for you, friend. Yeah, they have the 8 Field of Ruins, which is kind of obnoxious, but... I'll discard this, draw another land, then the 5, and then hit them for 5. Alright, so... Cabal Coffers, not a deck I see a lot of. Generally, they're kind of a bad hybrid between black mid-range decks and Tron deck, wannabe Tron decks. So, Stubborn now is usually pretty decent against them. Although, obviously, they're a Thoughtseize deck. Blossoming Calm. Invoke Despair Plate. Blossoming Calm could be pretty decent against them. How is... Sheoldred's Edict. How is that templated? Sheoldred's Edict. I believe that says each opponent, but yeah, each opponent, so that doesn't help against that. Could bring in the Flusterstorms. Lavinia could be tricky for them to navigate. Fairy doesn't do much. Natural State might be necessary against their stupid artifacts that they're grabbing. Dromoka's Command doesn't do much in this matchup, and Bolt might be a little bit suspect. A lot of it just depends on... Yeah, Teferi I can see being good. The problem is, like, how much more do we want to cut here? Blossoming Calm... Probably the weakest card, especially on the draw. So maybe we shave these. But... it's either these or the Flusters, I think. So I think on the draw we'll leave out the Blossoming Calms. Sand has only one lane, can't cast any of its spells. This is a pretty easy mulligan. Mulligan. We can get 4 of the 5 colors here, I think. And put back at Tribal Flames, perhaps. Keep Tribal Flames. So... what needs on... okay, I think we're just going to fetch here, see what our mana situation is. I think with this we can only get that. With Savai we're still missing one of our colors. So we get Steam Vents, the only color we're missing is black. No matter what we do, we can only get 4 of our 5 colors with the way this hand was set up. Because Zagath, we're missing red. Savai, we're missing black. So we may as well just fetch Steam Vents and get Ragavan down. Blood Chief Stir, sure. Nothing we can really do this turn other than hold up Stubborn Denial for something like Liliana of the Veil. Do they have... oh, Cling to Dust? Seriously? Okay, whatever. Some red mana. for his Zerborg. Nope, just another freaking field to ruin. Why would you do that? Go to the second main phase. Oh, why would you do that? Like, honestly, why would you main phase that? Or main phase one that? And that said, they pitch and invoke Despair, so maybe they have another one? Sure. Which one of my Tribal Flames natural states would you like? I'm going to guess you're going to take natural. Oh, you take Tribal Flames. Okay. Sure. Well, we're back to having 4 of the 5 colors now. Problem is they also have Cling to Dust Chill now here. Put that in their hand and pass. Well, may not be. Really kind of hard to say. Okay, opponent gets that. Turns Tarmogoyf into a 4/5. Unfortunately got to draw 2 cards. So right on time, Flusterstorm, right on time. Hey, let's somehow get away with playing 8 colorless lands in our monocolor deck. Cool. Funny part is, if we draw a fetch land, they're in some trouble here. What do we even pitch here? Just pitch Scion. Let's see what they get with Profane Tutor, see how they choose to try to win this game. Might get a little bit of information from them here. I'm going to presume they wish for like Karn or Walking Ballista or something. Oh, Okay. Once again, bad Tron deck with Field of Ruins. It's literally the only reason they're still in this game. I think we want Blossoming Calms. Hexproof. But I still don't know that they're better than anything in our deck right now. What would we bring these in over? That's the real question mark. Silent is obviously awkward, but we do need all of our threats because they do have a ton of kill spells in their deck. So do over like one Scion, one Leyline Binding, which we probably don't really want to draw more than one of because they seem to be more. Alright, this hand is awkward at best. So we do this. Swamp Forest Island gets Sacred Foundry. Would give us domain. But I think we're going to have to go for 4 out of 5 colors again and play these Nacatls out early because we need to get pressure down as much as possible. Problem is there's no Stomping Ground in this deck, so I guess we just go tap land anyway. Turn 1 Inquisition. Yep. Which one of these pretty cards do you like? I completely screwed up with fetching here, by the way. Because I'm not going to have a green source next turn, so I'm still not playing anything next turn. Oh. Okay, well, deck decided to bail me out. It did and it didn't, because if they have the Field of Ruins, then we have one less land in our deck to go fetch, so. Oh, go figure, they have the Bull land again. question is, do we play one of these lands out just to get the stupid field out of the way? This way, if they go for this one and still play Urborg, we'll at least have the 5th domain. Not that we're in any type of good shape in this game anyway. But all right. Okay, why would you play Karn here? You know I have a natural state in hand for whatever you wish for. Oh. Alright, let's at least pick up Giganta this turn. Oh, they're going to get to Cinder and Titan us this turn. Yay. Yeah. This league can be summed up in kind of 3 cards. Blood Moon, Ragavan, Field of Ruin. Playing against black removal spell decks. Well, to be fair, Titan is a good card against these 5-color mana bases, as is Bloodmoon. That's a risk you take when you play a 5-color Domains deck. It's part of what you sign up for. The black removal makes it difficult because it's almost unconditional and can kill all of our stuff except for Scion. We played against 3 black-based removal decks. 1 of black Coffers, Rakdos midrange, Rakdos Scam, Jund midrange. We played against 3 Ragavan decks. And the downside of Zoo is trades harder hitting creatures for less burn spells. And Zoo is at its best in these kind of matchups when they're playing like 1-drop threat, 2-drop threat, holding up protection. The problem with that is if you do that, you're almost never getting your 5th color of mana online. And then you're in this awkward situation if you draw a Scion or something. I'm not really sure how to rectify that. And I'm far from an expert on what build of domain mana is the correct thing. I just literally picked this list up, made a change of like, I think this was, the Hex Drinker was, I think it was a, maybe a Burst Lightning. I wanted a 9th 1 mana threat. Sideboard I did a little bit of adjusting to from the version that I saw, mostly because I wanted to get to 2 1-ofs. But the deck obviously has flaws. And we ran into them this league. Mana base was attacked, Ragavan, black-based removal, all of which are struggles with Zoo. Historically, Zoo was always good when red-based removal was kind of the thing. When removal that was being played wasn't good at killing your creatures. So basically red-based removal. Or the disruption was relevant. Whereas a deck like Burn is better in a meta where removal is heavy. All of its creatures have haste. It has much more direct damage spells. So if its creatures get in 1 or 2 hits, you're fine. Zoo can largely do the same thing sometimes. You have Tribal Flames, Lightning Bolt, you have some reach. But you don't have anywhere near as much as something like Burn. On the other side of the equation, your mana base is a good bit more vulnerable, as opposed to a deck like Burn or Murktide, which is probably the closest anagram for Zoo in the meta in terms of what it's trying to execute. It's an aggressive deck that can sometimes play a tempo role. And like I said, Burn and whatever are really its closest things in that regard. In terms of a deck that plays both spells and creatures, obviously you have things like goblins and merfolk and stuff, but they're trying to execute, I think, a little bit different game plan. So the more vulnerable mana base and running into a bunch of black removal decks. Oh, thanks, Rithvik. I really appreciate that. The downside of these stupid restreams is I don't see everything through restream. So I greatly appreciate that, Rithvik. But yeah, basically, Zoo is good, but it has its vulnerabilities. So I could easily have played a league with Burn or a league with Murktide and gone 1-4 as well. It's just sometimes you run into incorrect decision with, in my case, it was incorrect decisions with fetching, some bad matchups, and having to play around a myriad of difficulties for this deck. And the sideboard probably not being what it needed to be for the matchups we faced. What adjustments could you make for it? You really don't want to play a third basic. I mean, what would you even play? Basic Island? Basic Mountain? For Field of Ruin stuff. That really makes your thing awkward. So I really would need to play more games with this deck to know the correct sequencing with 1-drops and the particularly Scion being the awkward one with the fetches. Because Territorial Kavu and Tarmogoyf both kind of play pretty decently with Ragavan and Nacatl. So, like, these ones play nicely off of each other. It's Scion that's like the awkward, I don't want to say ugly duckling, but like when you're fetching mana, it really incentivizes you to fetch a Triumph on 1, play a Shock Land on 2. So, definitely something I would need to work on if I want to play this deck more. But if you like modern content, we have a ton of modern content on our main YouTube channel, which is MTG Nexus. Next week, unfortunately, I'll be streaming Pioneer. I do believe I'll be working on some blue-white control. Basically, what I'm trying to do with the live streams right now is do like one live stream with every like top tier or premier strategy. This week, I wanted to really work on Hammer Time or Creativity, but due to some time constraints, I didn't really get a chance to get some games in. So I kind of defaulted to Zoo, which I have a little bit of a background with, more compared to those decks in particular. But Zoo is not, I would say, a top tier strategy, but it's definitely, a top 10, top 15 deck in the modern format. So it's a deck worth knowing about, worth playing. If you like this kind of content, please consider giving us a follow here on Twitch and go check out our YouTube channel. I'm going to start working on playlists for all the major top tier decks, kind of going over how to mulligan, the basics of the deck, simple sideboard guides, that kind of stuff. Maybe not from an expert perspective, but kind of giving people a high level overview of a deck. Maybe if they're a beginner with the deck, give them some type of background with the deck, and then we can kind of further shepherd them along with, show them to whoever it specializes with the deck. For instance, Yogg sending them to Demonic Tutors for Scam, sending them on to someone like Young Dingo, or Creativity. I'm not sure who is a creativity specialist. So, but hopefully we will be able to get some people some kind of pushes in the right direction, and will help people with general information. But if you like that content, please give us a follow or subscribe over on YouTube. And I hope to see you guys for next Sunday's stream, where we'll be doing some blue-white control in Pioneer. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Rivik, Jiv, Elo. Huge shout out to Strass Daddy for the raid. And I think I'm going to see if I can't send you all on to somebody else playing some modern. So, see if we can find somebody. Raid. I think, is Young Peasy streaming some modern today? Doing some raid. Okay. Just trying to make sure that I send you guys else. I'll send you on to another modern streamer. I want to say Young Peasy, but I think he was streaming Maverick. Nope, he's doing Modern Creativity, so we'll send you guys on to him. So.
What a time to show up! Thanks for the read, Nexus. Person